Kyrie Irving, though, I don't know if they're going to pay you what you want. They just traded one of the best players that the NBA's seen in history, point blank period. Seeing the general direction of this organization, why would you want to stay?
The interesting part of this Kyrie injury is how it affected KD's trade market this summer as well. But this wouldn't be the first time that Kyrie signed a contract and then dipped. Nico Harrison's comments whenever he tore his ACL was interesting because today we're diving into 5 NBA free agents who could be switching teams in 2025. Before we get started though, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on every Friday's episode. Let's get into it with Mo. All right, we are now welcoming back one of the best podcasters in the game. He has recorded hundreds of episodes that have amassed over 500,000 subs and 860 million views on YouTube. He and his co-hosts are signed to the iconic social media brand House of Highlights. He's 1/3 of the Deep Three. Mo, how we doing?
W Glazed, man. I'm here. I appreciate the grand entrance, bro. Thank you for welcoming me back, man. I'm happy. It's a blessing.
Absolutely, bro. Appreciate you taking time. Back in January, when you're on the pod, we talked about 5 NBA stars who could be on the move. And I got good news, dog. You went 5 for 5. De'Aaron Fox, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, and Zach LaVine all got traded at the deadline. Now, the title of this episode is 5 NBA free agents who could change teams this summer. So let's see if we can shoot 100% from the field again. We'll start just like we did last time with a list of 10 and work our way down to 5. So first up, who's more likely to switch teams? We got a pair of old heads, Russell Westbrook or Fred VanVleet.
Russell Westbrook or Fred VanVleet. Now, naturally, many people might go towards the player who's worse, which is Russell Westbrook. But it's definitely going to be Fred VanVleet because why would the Rockets want to continue to pay him? Amen Thompson and his rise and his resurgence right now has his starting point guard position on lock. And so Fred VanVleet, he was there for his 2 years. His services, his veteran services are much appreciated, but it's definitely going to be Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, off-brand Drake is definitely up out of there. He's got a $45 billion team option, $45 million next year. I doubt the team picks that up, and if they do, it will probably be involved in a Kevin Durant trade. The most likely scenario is that he opts out to restructure that deal and possibly return to Houston, but I think Russ has found his fit in Denver, and it's a lot more likely to me that Denver brings him back on a minimum instead of bringing back Fred on a multi-year deal or that $45 million team option. So I'm with you on that one. Next up, we got 2 teammates, D'Angelo Russell or Cam Thomas.
Now, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you want to figure out what player is going to lead you to more losses. And I think it'll probably be someone like Cam Thomas because he's not like a player who's going to share the love or raise the ceiling of your team. But with that being said, I'm probably going to lean towards Cam Thomas being shipped out of there because I think a lot more teams see him. He's not a proven concept just yet. They know he's an absolute bucket, one of the best bucket getters that the NBA can offer, but we don't know what what capacity that could be. As for D'Angelo Russell, like he's at home. I think Cam Thomas is going to be out of his way.
I'm with you on the first part of what you said. Cam Thomas is like the perfect rebuild player. He's that guy who could go for 40 on any given night, but he's also going to lose a shit ton of games on his way to doing that. Mm-hmm. But I feel like Cam Thomas matches the timeline if they were to get a guy like Cooper Flagg. Next one up, let's go to big man. Julius Randle or Miles Turner?
It's easily going to be Julius Randle, bro. It's not no surprise that the Minnesota Timberwolves found their groove. Once Julius Randle was out of there, the best person does not wish injury on anybody, but I know that deep down inside there's some Minnesota Timberwolves fans that wish injury to Julius Randle. And I'm not saying it's right, but I'm not saying it's wrong.
Julius is 100% gone. This is the easiest one on here. Turner has come back at a cheaper price for Indiana to avoid the tax, and I think he'll do it again. But I'm interested to hear the Julius fits that you may have once we get deeper into this podcast, because there's not many of them. I can't wait to hear that. Let's get into some younger guys. Josh Giddey or Jonathan Kuminga?
Whew, man, I think the Chicago Bulls continuously do the stupidest thing of all time that you can imagine. And I think keeping Josh Giddey is probably logical for them to do with their logic, okay? So that's why I have to sit down and imagine that the Golden State Warriors are going to ship off Jonathan Kuminga because it's hard for me to envision them absolutely maximizing Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green alongside someone like Kuminga, who's a non-shooter. I think if you can move off of Kuminga for help, maybe not even like a star player. Shit, can you move off him for someone like Cam Johnson on the Brooklyn Nets? I would do that in a heartbeat. So it's definitely going to be Kuminga.
I'm going to go to the other side on this. The Chicago Bulls, like you said, are illogic. They have zero first round picks in return for Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Alex Caruso. Zero first round picks for those three guys combined. It would be just like them to trade their best role player for Josh Giddey and then to trade Josh Giddey 1 year later. So that's why he's my answer.
Look, we're going stupid for stupid with this one. You wanted some. I like it.
The final two on this list are the least likely. Honorable mention to LeBron James. We don't think he's going anywhere, especially with Luka Doncic there now. But there are two big names, Kyrie Irving or James Harden. Again, the most least likely on here. But if one were to leave, which one would be more likely?
It'll probably be someone like Kyrie Irving. James Harden has found his home. He just dropped 50 points the other night, bro. The Los Angeles Clippers have nothing, no offensive creator, no like he's home. He's going to be there for the next few years, probably until he retires. He's fine. But Kyrie Irving, though, they just traded your cornerstone piece, your franchise player, one of the best players that the NBA has seen over the last few years, one of the best players that the NBA has seen in history, point blank, period. You have Anthony Davis, cool, one of the 7, 8, 9, 10 best players in the NBA. But you're hurt. Clearly instability in this organization. I don't know if they're going to pay you what you want. And seeing the general direction of this organization, why would you want to stay?
That's exactly
why. So I'm leaning towards Kyrie.
If Nico Harrison was not a part of this organization, they might consider trading Anthony Davis or Kyrie Irving to have a complete rebuild. That would be the logical thing to do, with Kyrie likely not back until next March. The only way to calm down this fan base after the Luka deal was to be great right now. They're obviously not going to be that. 2 years from now, Anthony Davis is going to be 34, and we know his injury history. 2 years from now, Kyrie's going to be 34, coming off a torn ACL. And even if they want to continue to build around that group, they can't. They used up most of their draft capital building around Luka, who they traded. Mo, I'm not in the business of trading a guy when he is down like Kyrie Irving, but Anthony Davis deal should be on the table. It will never happen because of Nico's ego, but it should be. Kyrie deserves that max. He had all of the leverage until he tore that ACL. He had all the leverage in the world to get it. Nico Harrison's comments whenever he tore his ACL was interesting because he was praising Kyrie, how he's the heart and soul of the franchise. But at the same time, he said he had the same passion as Kobe. And I don't argue that. I agree with that point. But did it not feel like another sneak diss to Luka when he has to bring Kobe into yet another conversation? Kyrie Irving, like, again, this is not likely. But I wouldn't be surprised he took a massive pay cut to reunite with another former teammate. I'm not saying it's going to be Luka Doncic. I'm not saying it's going to be Kevin Durant. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas was unwilling to offer him the max, he could go somewhere else. What do you think about that?
I think you're cooking, but I got an even better question for you. If Anthony Davis was to get traded this summer, where would he be traded to? What team wants him? Now, while you think on that, I have an immediate answer in my mind, bro. We are cooking right now.
Let's hear it.
Listen, if I am Leon Rose of the New York Knicks, I see the great team that you built, but your team can be even better. We know the real issues that lie in New York, and it starts with Cat. Big Bodega. I love him to death. He's a great player, and he definitely made this team better to a certain degree, but he will never get you to the point to where he will make you a actual championship contender because of the flaws within his game, which is defense. Defense from the center position is the most important position in the goddamn court. So if I'm the New York Knicks, I call up the Dallas Mavericks. See that Nico Harrison is demented. He's not in his right mind whatsoever. I'm not even gonna probably offer them Karl Anthony Towns at first, bro. I'm gonna throw him like a Josh Hart or something like that to see if they're really finna go. Realistically, they're probably not, but I'm probably gonna offer Karl Anthony Towns straight up 1-for-1 for Anthony Davis, maybe a couple second round picks because Nico Harrison is like demented like that.
He is demented, and that Kyrie injury, his comment. By the way, the Knicks thing is hilarious because the Knicks get bounced in the second round. Like, it's not that implausible. They want to make some more calls. They've been trading everything up to this point. They have no draft capital left. But again, they do have Big Bodega, like you said. The interesting part of this Kyrie injury is how it affected KD's trade market this summer as well. I saw a report somewhere from USA Today that now, obviously, Kevin Durant isn't looking at Dallas as a team that he would want to go to as a 37-year-old with Kyrie not coming back until at least next March. Vice versa for Nico Harrison as well. He's not looking at Kevin Durant to double down on this core when Kyrie and AD won't be on the floor together. Dallas, before that Kyrie injury, was the betting favorite to land
Mm.
Kevin Durant. So now I checked today, I think they're seventh in odds. So watch out for the Kyrie injury affecting the KD trade as well. Let's go with those five guys that you picked and let's decide their best landing spot. Let's spin the block and talk about Fred VanVleet. Where do you think the best landing spot for him is?
Fred could really fit on like any team that you can think of in the NBA because of the defense that he provides, the spacing that he provides. He's obviously not the one of the more efficient scorers in the NBA today. But if off the cuff of my head, if I am any rebuilding team or a team that's trying to build any type of legitimacy within their roster, if I'm like shit, if I'm the Toronto Raptors, I want my man back. I want Fred VanVleet back because I view the Toronto Raptors as a similar place in their rebuild as the Houston Rockets just a year, 2 years ago. They're starting to find their identity and all that. And Emmanuel quickly is good. He's a great player, but in terms of what this team needs development wise, I'd rather have someone like Fred VanVleet. If you can't find the guy, the partner in this year's upcoming draft in Dylan Harper or whatever the case may be, get Fred VanVleet and let's run it back. Run it back.
Bro, that is an all-time play-in team. Can you imagine Toronto with Fred VanVleet, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, the boys up there?
I got one more team. I think because of the situation that Minnesota's in, Fred VanVleet would be a terrific fit
Love
alongside
that.
Anthony Edwards as well.
Yeah, I love those two fits. I was thinking about sticking with the Kevin Durant thing. If
Mm,
Houston, who is now the betting favorite to land Kevin Durant, if Durant was to go to Houston, if I'm Phoenix, Fred VanVleet has to be coming back in return. Because the only way for Phoenix to get out of that is a good to great Kevin Durant trade. And putting Fred next to Devin Booker, along with some draft capital and some young talent that they don't want, like Reed Shepard, I think Phoenix is not a bad fit for Fred, but I love the Minnesota thing as well. Next player, Cam Thomas.
Cam Thomas, any team that needs a bucket, any team that's striving, any team that can't throw the rock in the ocean, I think of immediately the Orlando Magic,
I
bro.
was
They
just about to say
struggle
the
when it
Magic.
comes to putting the ball in the bucket, and Cam Thomas is known for putting the goddamn ball in the fucking bucket, bro. They need someone who could shoot. Jack, I heard rumor is you got a ratchet on you. You can shoot a little bit. Are you interested in playing for the Orlando Magic? If you are,
Is there a reason you said that?
assumptions,
Unbiased.
brother. Assumptions. Assumptions. I'm just
Okay.
keeping it real.
Okay. You're athletic as hell, bro. All right, that's hilarious. I got the Orlando Magic too, bro. They need a bucket getter, and if Cam Thomas is going to go somewhere, he kind of matches that Paulo and Franz timeline. So Orlando feels like a good fit for pretty much every scoring guard in the NBA. I like LaMelo and Trey. There, Trey is at the top of the list for I think Orlando dream destination for him, but Cam Thomas could fit there as well. Let's get in.
Definitely. Okay, I like that.
Let's get into Julius Randle.
Man, if you're a team who outwardly wants and is seeking for someone like Julius Randle and his services, you are a team who's lost and you're a team who's like soul searching. You're a team that just got over. You're a team that's just trying to find yourself. And I have to look towards the bottom of the conference for each team, you know? So I'm thinking about, okay, like the Chicago Bulls, they could make sense. Patrick Williams has been wildly disappointing, and Julius Randle can like play basketball, so I guess he could fit there. The Washington Wizards want no business with him, but honestly, yeah, I think I'm just gonna say the Chicago Bulls.
I feel like with Julius, Detroit seems like the only winnable team that he could possibly fit on.
Mm.
I don't even see that working out great. Like it doesn't raise their ceiling for me, but I'm right there with you. The Bulls, the Hornets. I disagree. I think the Wizards would love to have him. They put up with Kyle Kuzma forever. So I think those three teams,
This is real bottom feeders.
real bottom feeders for sure. Miles Turner, I feel like all 30 NBA teams would want a guy like that. LA, you know, Rob Pelinka is going to bed every night waiting for this summer, his opportunity to go get Miles Turner next to Luka Doncic and LeBron James. I don't know how you feel about that as a LeBron fan, but that seems perfect in LA.
It's a great duo, bro. That's a great duo. I don't know how it like you're necessarily doing the best by Luca when it comes to that because he
Love.
loves his vertical threats and lob threats. But
Mhm.
hey, like you don't see spacing five out centers like that who can space it as well as he can every day, bro. So that's the perfect fit too.
For sure. Josh Giddey or Jonathan Kaminga. I went Giddey, you went
I
Kaminga
think
on this. So I'll let you start with Jonathan.
yeah. Okay, so if John Mingo was to find himself on another team this offseason, it would probably be by like via trade. Honestly, me personally, I would like to see him on a team like the Phoenix Suns. naturally, I think that trade might happen this summer,
Mhm.
and he has the free reins and free will to do whatever the hell he wants. Once the Phoenix Suns move on from the KD Bradley Beal era, if that happens too,
Mhm.
then a place like Phoenix is just a empty canvas for Jonathan Kuminga to just like do what he does best, which is put the ball in the bucket and try to like actually develop into his own style and not be forced and bent to the will of Steph Curry.
Mhm. Yeah, Phoenix would definitely be interesting, especially next to Devin Booker, and he would be unlocked there. I think another blank canvas for him is the team with the most cap space in this year's free agency, which, by the way, sorry to all these free agents, but Brooklyn Nets have the most
Oh
money
yeah.
this summer. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put in an offer, like a massive offer sheet for Kaminga, who's a restricted free agent this year, and made the Warriors at least say, like, hey, do we want to pay this guy or not? But I think Brooklyn would be a good fit there. The Josh Giddey front, seems like he'd be a fit in Utah, especially with that crowd, huh?
I mean it's a 1-to-1. His jersey sales would be fucking crazy, bro.
Oh God.
Platinum.
Like frat house, like concert series, Josh Giddey, Utah Jazz jersey.
Begin Giddy in Utah. Let's do it.
All right, the final
Uh,
one again was the least likely, but it was fun talking about Kyrie and what could happen with him and Nico Harrison. What was your fit for Kai? I think we touched on it a little bit before.
I think Kyrie Irving probably, me personally, again, I'm a LeBron fan. Luca is he loves his Hermano. I'd personally want to see him over there in LA, but the X's and O's and the numbers and the dollar signs just don't come out to what it should be at the end of the day. And
Right.
Kyrie Irving is a very aware person of himself, of the world, and all that, as we all know. He's gonna look out for his bag. I think he's just gonna do the bat, let the bag talk for himself. And if I would say that he's probably gonna stay with the Dallas Mavericks, but if that's not the case, it's literally just a cap. It's a salary cap game at that point in time. And so naturally, I think I might lean towards if Minnesota has the bookings to do so, and if they end up losing someone like Nas Reed, then they might take a swing on Kyrie Irving just to help replenish like the offense and juice left off the table. So that's probably going to be a fit if Nas Reed leaves.
Back to the LA thing real quick too. I knew him and Luca were tight, but like not as close as I knew they were after this trade. Like all the conversation back and forth and how tight they are. There's something definitely there. Again, he'd have to take a massive pay cut to go out to the Lakers. But this wouldn't be the first time that Kyrie signed a contract and then dipped, a year later or something like that. A lot of guys in the NBA now, wherever they're eligible or wherever they have offers for the max, they get that bread and then they end up going somewhere else years
It's
later.
all-time manipulation.
For sure. And I remember Kai standing in front of that Boston crowd, like, you know what? I'm going to resign. And obviously never did. Brooklyn, he signed that extension and ended up asking out, which is why he's in Dallas. The fit thing is weird. Minnesota next to Anthony Edwards would be dope as hell. Miami, I think, would be cool too. And it seems like a Pat Riley move. He was really a guy that never wants to go back into tanking. So him with Bam and Tyler Hero would be interesting as well. But like you said, Dallas is the most viable fit for Kyrie Irving. James Harden, I think Orlando Magic for any bucket getting guards. But again,
Ooh,
he's
he
probably
would be
found his spot.
perfect over there.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
would.
he'll be perfect over there in Orlando, bro. Someone who's another option, get the load off of Paolo, let Paolo just play big bully ball instead of trying to forcefully create his way into tough shots and all that. James Harden, Orlando, seal deal with me. I'm cool with that.
For sure. I know I mentioned the Trey thing earlier in the podcast, but that feels like the most likely Orlando big swing that they can take this summer. Do you agree with that, or you think they could?
I think it hurts my heart to hear that, but I think something that is kind of under talked about right now
Hawks fan?
is the mellow ball because that situation is like 10 million times worse than what's going on in Atlanta. Like you have a new front office, a new head coach and all that. You have one of the worst things that a team can deal with is a superstar who just doesn't show up enough to play, a la Zion Williamson. That situation over there is so tough to analyze. Who knows what his trade value is? And I can say the exact same things about LaMelo Ball. You know the talent is there. It's a little bit more unsure if he can win with that talent because he hasn't had the opportunity to do so. We've seen him in those Hayward and Terry Rozier led days, like perform in the play-in or make it to the play-in So it's hard to really gauge how good he is or how much level of a star he is. And if I'm the Orlando Magic, Jalen Suggs, his career is looking, his injury luck is just not panning out what you want it to be. I want someone like LaMelo Ball in through those doors, and I'd be willing to give up almost anything to do so.
I agree with that. And the front office point is so valid because we see in a guy like Nico Harrison, this happens around the league. The new GM and the new owner wants to step in and be responsible for whatever wins they have. Obviously, Charlotte has no wins going on right now, but they want to step in and they want it to be the player they draft, the player they trade for, to be the reason that they end up being successful. I want to stay with the Hawks real quick too. We know you're huge Hawks fans. How do they get out of what they're currently in, this state of mediocrity right now? They beat my Grizzlies at a buzzer beater the other night, but outside of that, this season hasn't been up to par. So how do you think the Hawks get out of that?
I think the number one way to get out of mid is just like make up your mind and make a decision. If I'm Trae Young, I'm being so honest and taking my like Hawks fandom out of here. I'm requesting a trade. Like you're 26 years old, you're gonna be 27 in September next year, and your team is still trying to find themselves and find their identity and find the right way. They have their identity. They finally found it, but it might just be too late. The guy who's supposed to be your right-hand man, Jalen Johnson, he might just be injury prone. He's gone through so many things in his career. You have Dyson Daniels, this is like the perfect pairing for you, but the rest of the roster just doesn't seem strong enough. You see your peers like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in your 2018 draft class. He's probably going to win MVP. You see your peers like Luka Doncic, went to the NBA Finals last year. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's over here winning Defensive Player of the Years and making strides with the Grizzlies. You're up to nothing right now. You made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Cool beans. But I think if I'm Trae, I'd want to find my way out of there, and I'm putting in that 2 week notice. But if that's not the case, if I'm the Hawks, you need to build upon what you have right now. Continue to find more lengthy guys. Like you did a good job with the Terrence Mann and getting off of Bogey. The Karis LeVert trade has been working out-ish for us. Like his individual performance has been good. Keep on building on finding creators and people who can put the ball in a bucket because our offense is in the mud. And Trae Young and his shooting woes and his efficiency woes in general, not finishing at the rim, has been hell for us. And let's try to continue to build on these better habits that we found. We sucked in the past, but now I think the type of ass that we are now is like enjoyable.
The Zachary Risacher part of it, him coming to form kind of later in the season, having 27 points last week, makes them even more flexible if Trae Young was to request a trade. But Mo, I appreciate you again so much for taking time. Keep killing it. Everything you're doing with Deep 3 and leading this generation in that. Thank you again so much, bro.
Absolutely, bro. Appreciate you.